sit down.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Build Paint Play. I'm Dave.
I'm Jake, and today we are joined by some fantastic guests, Carl and Josh, and I will let them introduce themselves.
They're over that way. They're
over this way, sorry.
Hey, I'm Carl. I'm the longest running host of the Independent Characters 40K podcast, and with me is Josh.
Hey, I'm Josh. I've been guesting on the Independent Characters off and on over the last 10 years or so. I'd have more regularly joined as the regular co-host of the show in the last year.
And videographer.
And videographer. And we're on YouTube now.
That's right.
Nice.
That's right.
I gotta say, having the YouTube video as well. Like I used to listen sort of on I will admit I listen on and off when it was a podcast, because podcasts weren't always my thing. So you're like, I see on Facebook, Carl post, new podcast, new episodes dropped. Fantastic. Go and check it out. Depending on the topic. Maybe I wouldn't check out the things about Eldar or Dark Elder or anything like that. Leave those to the side. But if it's Space Marines or Imperial Guard or something like that, I'd check them out. But now that you're on YouTube as well, like basically it's the same podcast, but it's on YouTube.
Yeah, with a visual component.
With a visual component, yeah. But the visual component isn't. You still just I can still just sort of sit here and paint and listen to it.
Right.
It has that the same podcast feel, which is great. So yeah, I think I've called almost every episode. Now.
Awesome. That's good to know. That's good.
Yeah, that was the hope going into it, that people would just sit there and hobby along with it while we're talking, and you'd glance up every once in a while when we're referencing something visual and just hobby away.
Nice.
So that's great.
Fantastic. So I guess as part of the introduction then, before we jump into talking about the hobby that we've been up to and a few other bits and pieces, quick intro, 30-second elevator pitch for the independent characters.
That's a good question. So the Independent Characters is focused on the Warhammer 40K universe, I should say. So we're focused on not just Warhammer 40,000, but also Adeptus Titanicus, Legions Imperialis, Kill Team, the novelizations around all these things, and kind of the lore. And we approach all that with a very positive outlook. I think when we first started the show, it was out there were a lot of shows that would do rants. We're going to rant about this and we're going to rant about that. From our perspective, we love the hobby. We love the game. If we didn't, we wouldn't do this. So we didn't see any point in complaining about that. We kind of focus on the things we do like and go from there. That's not to say we're not occasionally critical of something, but that's probably far and few between, to be fair.
Sure, and to be fair, it's when you don't, maybe you don't personally like a particular aesthetic. We were talking about before the
yes. And really, it's the bottom line, like the tagline we kind of always went with when we started the show was we had a large group of players that we played 40K with here. And we wanted to make our listeners feel like they were a part of our gaming group. That was our objective. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Excellent. Okay, I'm just going to say hi to Scott in the chat. Guys, with, sorry. I did get to say with StreamYard. I'm not sure if you can see the chat on the...
I can, yeah. If you go to the comments section, we can see
the chat as well, Josh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I just changed tabs there. Now I see it.
Cool. Excellent. So Scott is here. Excellent. Hi, Scott. Matt Bowles is here. Patrick Keith, Cliff Edders. Hi, Carl Ray. Is here as well. Awesome. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Patrick says, been really enjoying the Independent Characters YouTube channel. Have caught all the episodes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Josh put so much work into that. Into the editing. Like the video editing takes a lot longer than the audio editing, and what's really funny is like we'll complete recording the show.
Yep.
Josh has about a 40-minute drive home. he gets home and I'm like, okay, I'm done editing the audio because I'm so used to it now.
Yeah.
And he's like, I haven't even started.
I'll be done in 2 days.
Yeah.
With the 3 cameras. I mean, it's a 3-camera setup. So every time, like, I'm manually doing the cuts between camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, and all that, and then adding graphics and things like that. But it's a labor of love and it's fun.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's good to hear it's appreciated, though. So thank you.
yeah, no, it definitely is. It's a completely different world from live streaming. Because as Jake will attest, sort of after the show, we just go, "Yep." It can live as a live video on YouTube.
I think it's also like part of it was, and like Carl, I would love to hear, like when we get to that segment, I would love to hear like how you guys decided to like do it the way that you're doing it. I guess
Sure.
like now that Dave and I have a couple dozen episodes under our belts, as it were, like it is definitely. It was a conscious decision when Dave and I started this to be like, let's just do it live. Like, we're just going to do it live and talk about whatever. And, you know, if somebody brings up a random subject and we tangent, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's easier and it's more spontaneous for us, but also like, if I'm being honest, like it's less work because it's live. It's not we are not a carefully curated show. Like that's not,
we are. We are.
And that's good. Hey, I'm glad you guys are holding down that side of things.
When we get to
awesome.
that point, we'll go over all our thought process around that because we did talk about streaming as well.
Awesome, very cool. So also here is Jim. Sean's joined us. Chris Gawker's here. Jeff is here. And Scott says, "Jake, I got some BattleTech stuff at the LVO." He's a big BattleTech guy now.
Of course, that stuff's great.
Fantastic.
Who doesn't love giant robots?
I got to tell you, I was this close. Like I had to kind of be pulled away from the BattleTech like booth at Adepticon because I was like, what am I doing? I don't have time for this.
Oh my god!
But I played all in high school and stuff. So
yeah,
same.
Now you got bandwidth for Legions Imperialis, so you're all set.
Just with that. Awesome. We also got Josh from Crown of Command Games is here. It says can't hang around, but one of you guys like and say hello. Hello, Josh. Very cool.
Thanks, Josh.
After the show, Jake, you and I need to nail down dates and times. We're gonna have
Josh. We didn't forget you. We got you, buddy.
We're gonna go on Josh's show as well. And Ross is here. First live feed I've caught. Fantastic. Hang around towards the end. We've got some photos of your work in the community spotlight. So super cool. And Patrick is here. Awesome. Welcome. So jumping into, I think the first thing I said was going to be talking about what we've been up to hobby-wise. So this is where I get to do the fun screen sharing.
So last week, guys, Dave painted 70 miniatures. He got some of them online.
It wasn't in a week.
He scratch converted. Right. It was 4 days. He scratch converted some.
No. Anyway, first up, we're going to talk about Carl and the stuff you've been working on. Carl, you sent through.
Yeah. So this is a model that I've wanted to paint for a long time. And as I talked about on my show, I really wanted to do a good job on him. My photography is not the best here. But when I finished him, like I told Josh on the show, I said, I'm really happy with how he came out. And then I said, well, I'm happy enough with how he came out. I made some, I kind of stretched myself in a few areas here, in particular in the back of the cloak, which you can't really see in this photo. But I took some lessons I'd learned from Caleb at CK Studios, who came over and spent some time with my wife and I, giving us some painting lessons. And ultimately, I'm happy with the way this model came out. He looks great on the table. He looks great surrounded by a bunch of other Black Legion. And out of I guess deference to both Josh and my previous podcast host Jeff, who both played salamanders. I decided to make him standing on a salamander here and have a salamander helmet stuck on his.
Yeah, I was going to say, see, He apparently does not like salamanders.
Yeah. I felt there was enough red in the model, and I really didn't want to go ultramarines at this point. So I did the salamanders. I hand painted the torn up logo on the left shoulder pad there, and did the flames on the right shoulder pad, and it all came out great. Thanks.
Yeah.
And so I'm very happy with the ultimate result, but I wanted to be happier with how it came out.
Right.
Well, look, we always say done, not perfect. You can always go back and keep adding to it, right? It's
yeah. I literally just told a friend of mine that who came over and needed some help with white, and I was showing him how to do it through an airbrush really well. And I said, don't let perfect be the enemy of done. Right. Move on, learn your lessons, and apply them to the next model.
Yep. Sure.
So and in addition, I've done a squad of 10 Black Legion here. I still have the transfers to put on their shoulder pads and the plasma weapons to do here. But this is something I've been talking about doing for years, and it's been sitting in a state of incomplete for a long time. And now I've got some momentum going behind me. So I expect I'm working on my second squad right now, and just received this stuff from Mig. I watched a tutorial I found on YouTube on a channel called Juan Hidalgo Miniatures, and he did a great plasma weapon instruction that I want to try to follow for the plasma weapons. So
I always forget how big he is. Like that model is like when you see him by himself, you're like, oh, he's just a Space Marine, and then you're like, oh God, he's like enormous. He is a gigantic model.
He is, and what's interesting is there's a guy by the name of Dave Roberts who's done a number of commissions for me. He goes under Dave Paints. Dave has sent over a Gillan that he painted for the Table War Charities. I'm also a member of the board of Table War Charities that we're going to auction off, and the Gillan looks amazing. And I had to take a few pictures of him next to Gillan, and I didn't realize they're the same size. Like they're the same size model. I thought Gillan would be a little bigger than him, but clearly he's swollen with chaos power. So.
Yeah,
very much so.
Like part of it too is like, so we like, obviously everybody who was a fan, we did the same thing. We compared them when they came out, and Gillan is technically bigger because of the way they have him posed. Like his legs are way far apart. Like he's in not even a superhero pose. He has his like 1 foot's on the ground, 1 foot's on like that eagle. So they squatted him down a little bit, but he's also he looks a lot thinner until you realize that like he's essentially just wearing form-fitting body armor, whereas Abaddon is wearing Terminator
armor. That's a very good point.
So it bulks him up and makes him look even bigger. But then you're like, Gillan is basically wearing like a Spider-Man costume. Like it's just on him. Like he is huge. Whereas like, Abaddon is like a really big Space Marine in the biggest possible suit of Terminator armor.
That is true.
But
with a Primarch's glove in his hand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, compared to the second edition model, like he got a lot bigger.
Although I will always have a soft spot for all the Jess Goodwin sculpts. Like all the old Jess Goodwin sculpts are my favorite. So,
Black Legion was my first army back in second edition. I definitely had a tiny Abaddon. It wasn't so tiny back then. But
nice. Chris has joined us. Hi, Chris. Josh is here as well, and Josh says, confirmed Abaddon is swole, as the young people say.
That's right.
He definitely works out at the Chaos Gym. He is there all the time.
Quick question for you, Carl. With the Black Legion, do you prime them black and then then paint the trim?
Yes. Yeah, I prime them black. I actually use an additional through my airbrush. I use like a dark gray to kind of shade them from above. Yeah. And just so they're not a flat black, and then I'll paint in the gold after that, as opposed to going the other way. Yeah.
I know ages ago, like 2004 or something like that, when we were doing a relaunch of Battlefleet Gothic at GW, and doing like a boarding actions thing as well. We had to paint. We had to paint up. I say it was me. I had to paint up a whole bunch of Black Legion hairs for boarding actions tables that were going out to all the stores. And so for that, everything was primed black, and then I dry brushed all the trim.
Yeah.
Went back and filled in the panels, colored in the panels.
Got it.
Got it.
I did that for Thousand Suns, but it's because they're there's so much more gold on them. Like,
Yeah.
that just made sense. Like, I sprayed them gold and I went back and I blocked in all the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's so much gold. So much.
You know, a lot of people complain about the amount of trim on chaos models compared to Thousand Suns. Like, I gotta tell you, like, I don't think it's that bad. I don't
nothing compared to Thousand Suns.
No,
I mean, certainly it's a lot more than a Space Marine, but it's not. I don't find it to be. I find it kind of therapeutic to actually work through it. To be honest with you,
That's good. That's good.
yeah, Thousand Suns are just made out of trim. Like, that's
That's
Trim
true.
and dust. That's all I got.
Awesome.
And then
what I've got from you, Kyle, is your son Horus.
yeah, Josh, you are seeing for the first time all the black.
Yeah, you made some progress.
Sons of Horus here. So yeah, I'm working on Legions Imperialis. This is just the tanks that I've done so far. I also have some infantry that I am not ready to put on bases yet, but they're about to be. But boy, when you see how much Josh Legion Imperialis stuff, he was highly motivated to get that stuff done. But and I think his motivation for that kind of dragged me into this, because this was something I said 4 or 5 episodes ago. I am not going to do this game. Like, I just don't have. And the next thing I know, I'm like, all right, where do I get this stuff?
Dude, that is the ultimate Games Workshop fan of a line of all time. You're like, you know what? I'm not going to play that army. And then, like, 3 weeks from now, you're like, hey, so guess what army I started?
Yeah. And I've always wanted to do Sons of Horus. Like, in Horus Heresy, I did word bearers. And I like them. Like, I like the word bearers. I like that I could summon all these demons and stuff. I love the corruption aspect of it. But as it went on, I was like, man, I really like that kind of seafoam green, and I really, it's a cool army, and
it's their color. Like, you look at one of the cool things I like about Heresy is that instead of doing the paint schemes that we've all known for the last 30 years plus, it's like, oh well, now you can do all the pre-Heresy schemes, and you're like, oh, that's wild. And yeah, some of them are same. Like White Scars is the same. Imperial Fists, it adds a lot of black, but it's basically the same scheme. Blood Angels are Blood Angels. But then you've got like the Word Bearers look completely different. Like they're instead of gray, they're red. And then like the Black Legion or the Sons of Horus, instead of being black, which we've seen them, they're not even Luna, which you can do Luna Wolves.
Yeah.
But you can also do that awesome period of like basically a decade that they're this color.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I like the World Eaters is another one. You get to do them all white. They're all red, white, and blue. Crazy.
Yep.
Like, so yeah, it's a really fun. It's a fun, like, sort of way to go. I'm going to play classic Space Marines, but also with a totally different, like, look to them. So,
yeah. So these are all pre-transfer as well. Transfers will go on the top and maybe some on the sides. But yeah, I got this batch done. I'm working on infantry and dreadnoughts right now, and then more tanks. And I'm following. We have another guest host that comes on the show, Jody, quite frequently, and he's kind of got this mantra right now that he is not going to buy another model until he paints all these models. So and he's sticking to it. And so
I've heard that too.
For this game,
for Legions Imperialis specifically, he's still going everywhere else, but
but for Legions Imperialis, I'm going to paint what I have before I buy the next model. So that's my I'm sticking to that. I think because we're only playing painted. So
the sculpts are so good. Like I love that they just took the CADs and just shrunk them and then reprinted them, because the detail is nuts.
It's crazy.
It's incredible.
It is, and that was, I think, what killed me when I was like determined not to do it, and then
my excitement
are so
of the models. It's hard.
So good. Yeah,
you were set up for
failure
for resisting that. Yeah.
Speaking of Josh, we've got some photos of things you've been working on.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna love these, Jake.
I might also mention Josh is a professional photographer. So
very nice.
So I set these up. These are my Thousand Suns Legions Imperialis going full on. I've starting with Titanicus, I went Legios Astobiax, which was of course housed on Prospero, the one of the subforges of Zal Arkad on Prospero. So tied in the Titans there when I got into Aeronautica Imperialis. I went just full Heresy, Thousand Suns, knowing I could tie those two together, and then got lucky in that Legions Imperialis came out and brought both those games kind of into the same fold here. So I now have a massive collection, of which you'll see a handful. But yeah, so I've got, I think, 4 starter boxes worth of Marines. I did some trading to traded the Solar Auxiliary half away because I just wanted to go pure Astartes with this one. So yeah, I think I've got 4 boxes of infantry worth, 2 boxes of Kratos, a ton of Sicarans, ton of Predators, bunch of Rhinos, and then all the planes that I had through Aeronautica. So yeah, this is my 2,000 point list that I was working to. I wanted to have this done for Adepticon and then some. This is slightly over 2,000 points, so I've got the Reaver in there, the Thunderhawk, and then a couple of the other planes. There's a couple extra dreadnoughts in this than I will actually have in my 2,000 point list, but I had them there, so might as well get the group shot going.
At first, I thought this was Blood Angels because I was like, "Oh, Assault Marines with yellow helmets; those are Assault Marines."
So I went gold with the Assault Marines. What's hard to see here is that I actually went with the candy red look, so the metallic candy red, which doesn't really translate well to the photographs. Which is at that scale, it's fun and also a complete pain in the butt. On the tanks especially, when you do that clear, using to me a clear red to do that candy red, there's like no surface tension on the tanks. On the infantry, it's not that big of a deal, but there's just like no surface tension to apply extra layers on paint. So I learned this when I was doing all my planes for Aeronautica, and that I actually like do the candy red, then do a matte varnish on them, so then I can actually have some surface tension for all my detail paints to adhere to. And then I have to do a gloss varnish in order to do an oil wash on them, and then transfers, and then matte them again at the end. So it's involved, but it looks so good. And as much as the photos look cool here, the in person is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's a serious level of dedication there, Josh.
They look great.
That's awesome.
The Rhino in the center there is my command Rhino. So I had one full color decal left for my 30K transfer sheet for 28 millimeter Thousand Suns. So I was like, oh, that's the perfect command call out there on a Rhino.
The other thing that roped me into this, Josh, we should mention, was that that battle report they did in White Dwarf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was so good.
Yep. The Warhammer Plus video battle report also, there's just a lot of fun. Good feel for the game.
Yeah. God, that's a great looking army, Josh. You did such a good job.
I just look at those two like sort of 8-man talons of contemptors.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, there's a lot of dreadnoughts.
My list, I'm not using all those dreadnoughts because it's a lot of points, but also it's interesting from like the built-in lore side of things. It's like that feels like too many dreadnoughts for Astartes to field en masse. But if it was going to happen anywhere, I guess Horus Heresy would be the place for it.
Yeah, Heresy and Legions is the scale for it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I love my one contemptor that I have. I'm not going to go buy 15 more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they look great.
Here, I'm working on the next batch, getting this list up to 3,000 points. So I've got 60 tactical points in the queue right now, and got 9 more tanks, a couple more Kratos, more Predators, more Sicarans. So that's what I got there, just to round out what I've got. And it's similar. I'm not buying anything till I finish what I have painted. But at that point, between all the Titans that I have, all the planes I have, and all the tanks and infantry, I probably already have, close to, 6,000 to 8,000 points. Probably even more than that when I had the Titans.
Josh
obviously.
Josh is a very committed Adeptus Titanicus player as well.
Yeah.
And
I
he
love
has
Titanicus. Such a
it's great.
game.
Yeah.
But Josh has so many Titans that he can field any mana pool.
I can field every single mana pool that there is for the game for it. So not necessarily all at the same time, but I just wanted to have all the Titans, to have all the options in a single Legio that I could do anything.
It's crazy.
So that's I think 16 Titans for Zastobiax.
Oh, wow. I work with Mark Rayleigh, and Mark runs the Adeptus Titanicus stuff, and also he's going to be running the Legions Imperialis stuff at Adepticon.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
And he's been working on the on a whole, like probably for the last 6 months has been working on terrain. And so he showed me some of the sort of the rubble sections that he's been working on. And
Fantastic.
it's gonna be fantastic. He's got some tiny 3D printed marine casualties.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So
They did such an incredible job at Adepticon last year. I really enjoyed that event.
We did Titanicus.
Couple of days of that. Yeah, we did the doubles, Carl and I together on that, and I did one of the single days also. And just all of that, just the terrain, the 3D map that they have for like the map campaign for that, for how you set up the games, is just really well done, like beautifully executed, amazing terrain. Grimdark terrain is hard to beat for that scale.
no,
And Josh went undefeated. I think he won a medal there.
I think I did. I did I got my Adepticon medal.
awesome.
Like 6-0, and Carl got me all the fun opponent points on the double stacks.
I got him all the best sportsman points.
I'm doing all the strategic tactical 4D math here on Carl's shaking hands and kissing babies and winning the crowd over. So and I was a super fun event.
That sounds like you're a perfect team there. Perfect team.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Excellent. Sorry, Josh Potter says, never buy casualty figures. It demoralizes the other toys.
So good.
Sean Gleason's going to be playing Titanicus on the Thursday. Excellent.
Nice. I'll be there.
So good.
Yeah.
Next up for hobby-wise, we have my Centurion conversions that I've been messing around with. So I was showing these to the guys before the show. These are converted using sort of a bit of the guide that Aeon of Battle did. It's a YouTube channel. You can check it out. Jay on there did some conversion work. I think he did that video about a year ago. I think, and it has a wonderful clickbaity title of "Fixing GW's Worst Model," something like that. But he did do a very good job, and I'm very happy with how these have turned out. But,
they look fantastic. I
like
Dave, we were talking, as you said, we were talking about this before the show, and from my perspective, I know these models got a bad rap when they came out.
Yeah.
And then as I was saying, sometimes I let models breathe a little bit when I first see them. So I saw these models and I was like, I don't know about this, and I didn't really care for it. And then when I actually started assembling one, I thought, oh, this is actually pretty cool. But man, these look so much better.
Yeah,
these look so much better.
Yeah.
The problem
subtle changes make a big difference.
Yeah, and almost all of it's in the legs and the waist.
Yeah.
Really the changes need to be made with those.
So
bumping those heads up though too, like that adds quite a bit there. And I like the heads you've gone with as well over the those are not the stock ones, correct?
No, they're from Legio 14 guy on Cults 3D.
Okay,
great.
Yeah.
Dave also loves cleaning up a lot of the models. Like he shaved off a lot of the symbols that are on like the shin pad and like the chest plates and the groin plates.
Yeah,
it just cleans them up. It just makes the models look so much like, I don't want to say elegant, but like more, they're a little more streamlined. Like they look a little more actiony because of that. They don't look like statues.
Yeah. Yep. You're gonna have that contrast of texture on there. So the flat areas and the thing. Prior to that cleaning up, there's a lot of texture on there from stuff you're gonna want to paint gold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But cool. Jake, what about you? What have you been up to?
So this week I knocked out my first repulsor. First one I've built. It was actually a pretty fun kit to put together. I was not a huge fan of all of the little gravity plate vanes that run around the thing. Like there's like 3 different versions you have to build and they all come in like 2 parts. And I was like, this did not need to be 2 parts. But they were cool. It's also super busy. It's like, there's a lot of like little doodads and bits on it. So I shaved off some of the ones on the turret. I filed off some of the mounting points just because I was like, it doesn't need all these like party favors. But it's a cool kit. Like I like it. They also changed the rules too. Like a lot of the stuff that used to be able to add to it, you can't anymore. It's just like the main weapon. If you upgrade that weapon, the turret, the pinto mount weapon, and then, oh, sorry, not the pinto mount. That's just the turret weapon, the sort of the chassis weapon, and then like the defensive array, which is just like this is what else it does. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Like you used to be able to give it a pintle mounted heavy stubber that you could upgrade
like
to
11 weapon profiles before, which made it was a very clunky shooting face.
Yeah, that's why they did it. They stripped it down, so now there's just 3 profiles, and then you're done.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it still puts out a lot of fire.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. But I was like, well, if I don't need all this other stuff, I'm just gonna trim it down. So I just, in my opinion, I just clean up the model a little bit. There was too much going on. So, but I built the first one. I've been going back and forth about whether or not I want to put it on a base, because it always seems weird to me that like it's a hover tank, which I get, but it's basically a Land Raider, and all the rules are you measure to the hull. So I was like, why does it need a base? So I might make like a converted base that's just like a stand, so I can just like put it on the table. I don't necessarily want to have it on like a giant, pizza tray that's under it for no reason. So I was like, I keep going back and forth. We'll see. I'm going to mess around with it, see if I can convert a base. And then what else? I got my new copy of ISS Vanguard, which is a big board game. So I cracked that open, and
I got that as well.
Dude, beautiful game. It is.
I wish I hadn't done the give me both waves in one shipment.
Yeah, I know, same. Because I was like, man, I would have got for another $30. I would have got this base game like 4 months ago.
Yes,
and then I would have got everything else like today. But yeah, it showed up like 2 days ago, I think. So I cracked it open this morning. I was looking at it, and I'm gonna try to do a run through this weekend. And then I read the first 2 books in the Siege of Terra in the last 10 days. So I'll be starting book 3 tomorrow. But man, it's so good. My boy, like it's all Sanguinius like showed up in the second book, and he's like, I just love that every time something crazy goes happen, his men are all like Ascalon's like, my lord, we have to get you out of here, and he's like, it's cool, I don't die today. Like, it's awesome. It's so good.
I hate to tell you this, Jake.
No, I'm believing. I'm aware.
Spoiler alert.
No, he's totally fine.
But all fine.
He ends up moving to a farm upstate.
The awesome stuff that he does over the next like 4 books, like he kills a Titan by himself. He's like, I got this, and they're like, my lord, it's a Titan. He's like, I don't die today, and you're like, wait, what? He like tangles with that, and then he like slaps Angron around. Like it's just him like just working everybody until the very end, and it's like Horus is like, oh, I'm swollen with power, and Sanguinius is like, I am exhausted. Like I've killed everything. Like. You've been like asleep on your ship. Like I've been killing everything. Like, let's do this.
I'm finishing up the last book now. Which
End in the Death 3?
Yeah. Okay. Which boy, I have all the special editions, and getting that one was, if I had to do it all over again, I would not go the route of buying the special editions. It was so stressful.
Yeah.
Fortunately, some listeners have pulled my feet out of the fire a couple times and been able to get a copy, and this is no different. A friend of mine down in Southern California actually went into the store and was able to order it through the store because I failed to be able to get it. So I have the whole collection, but I wish I hadn't done that. It was not good for my blood pressure.
It seems like it's been like that for everybody. Like I know Dave was trying to get all the Primarch books, and even still he's missing 2, I think.
No, just the last one. I've got everything until Horus. They haven't released Horus yet.
Yeah, okay. A buddy of mine decided that he wanted to get all of the Siege of Terra books in all the hardcovers. And at first it was like, oh, this will be easy. So we got like the first 2 or 3. And then I think after they got to like book 4, they started becoming like super limited. It was like every store can only get 2. So it was like, okay. And then it was like he started running into problems where like his local store, and he doesn't live around here, but his like local store didn't have it, or they only got 1, or they didn't get it.
Right.
And then I was talking to some kid the other day in my store, and he's in the same boat, and he's like, oh yeah, I just started just grabbing them. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, so like as somebody who worked in the book industry, I was like, so you have hardcovers, and then you have trade paperbacks, which are just the same book format without a hardcover. And then there's mass markets, and his collection is all 3. And I was like, that would drive me nuts. Like I'm itching just thinking about
I could not handle it. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I'm just going to wait and get them on mass market, because they're all available in mass market. I just want the collection.
I should not have gone the special edition route. Yeah.
But they'll match. Like I was like, I can't have a hardcover and then a trade and then a mass market and then a hardcover. I was like, no, I can't do that.
I am at the The Emperor and Horus are engaged in battle right now. So,
Oh, fun.
yeah.
Shh, don't tell us what
Hey,
happened.
spoiler.
Not gonna say another
Don't worry
word.
about it.
Spoilers.
Look, everybody knows that's coming.
Everybody knows what
And
happened.
like Dave
Happened
said,
like 10,000 years ago, right?
Sanguinius is living in a farm upstate
No, he's dead. Sanguinius
With,
is dead. That's
with
why
the
the
dog.
Blazers are the best.
with the dog from Marley and Me.
He's definitely dead.
Awesome. Okay, quickly, we are going to just have a little look at hit that. Something I started doing this year. We do a quick sort of hot tips or just a quick suggestion. A couple of YouTube channels, a couple of Instagram accounts to check out and follow. So the two I've got here, YouTube channel for the independent characters. Heard those guys are pretty good.
That one's
Yep.
the best.
Solid.
And you see on that red line, I have watched the Epic to Legions Imperialis episode all the way through.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
you
Entirety.
skipped right over episode 230. He was like, "Nah, this isn't for me."
yeah, Space Marines and Tyranids.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know that I've got another 2.5 hours to spend on Space Marines.
You know, I often wonder if our episodes are too long, and then
Yeah.
I talk about shortening them, and then our listeners are like, "Please don't," and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
There's
I
a
think
lot
it's
to talk about.
absolutely fine. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, head over to the independent characters after this show, not now, after the show,
That's right.
and subscribe. Check that, and also don't forget to like and subscribe here.
Yeah, please.
To us. That'd be great. We are up over 400 subscribers. Hooray!
All I want before Adepticon is 500. That'd be great.
That would be awesome. Let's get there.
Dude, I like how Josh has a Space Crusade unboxing. What year is this? What the hell is happening?
This
That's
is from
not us.
7 days ago.
What?
That was an advanced Hero Quest playthrough.
Awesome.
Take a look at the Marauder Miniatures flyer. So, Crown of Command games. Josh has the video. The YouTube channel, does a podcast as well, and it's very focused on primarily Middle Hammer stuff. So, let's say 90, 91, 92 through to about 96, 97.
Oh, so there's no like Rogue Trader battle reports or anything going on?
There might be.
Yes,
He does also
Oh.
enjoy some of the old Hammer stuff, but primarily it's in that Middle Hammer, the red phase, for it all. But yeah, so sometime over the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking with Josh, and for our show, and we're also going to be guesting on his show too, which will be super cool.
Nice.
And then for Instagram, the two that I picked out here, Pax Acrylica. So Pax Acrylica, he's been doing loads of awesome sculpts, conversions for years now. But each of these sculpts, conversions, paint jobs that he does always like mess with proportions. And I was thinking, okay, before I actually looked at his profile and saw what was written there, I was thinking, okay, so if this guy is a professional artist or is in medicine, because to mess with proportions that well, you've got to understand the proportions. But yeah, he's a doctor and just does some really spectacular, grimdark, blend Shih Tzu style conversion work.
I've
So
been
does
following
he-
him for about a year and absolutely love. And like every time I pull it up, it's like, oh, that's just like the perfect Necromunda weirdo right there.
Yeah.
It's
So
always
does
where it
I'm
takes me.
confused. Does he love medicine as his profession, or is love medicine his profession? Like,
Oh, that's a
you know,
good question.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no, you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Little column B.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never spoken with Eugene. But yeah, definitely worth going and checking out. Also, Tammy Nichols there, Tears of Envy. Tammy's been working on awesome stuff for a long time, but probably over the last year or so, she's been doing some fantastic. Basically, she's creating an alternate history timeline where in the 1980s and 90s there was a company that started making action figures in a very similar style to Star Wars, but making them for Warhammer 40,000 and Hero Quest and a few other businesses.
That's phenomenal. Like, let's make this happen.
Yep. So she makes each of those figures that you see there, she's created and like physically made, and puts them in those backing boards, blister boards that she makes as well.
That is awesome.
Creates a whole story around it. So
that's pretty inspired. That's neat.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah. Yep. I love that it's maker of fake toys you wish were real.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's really clever, man.
Yeah. I want that Imperial Space Marine. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is awesome. But so I would recommend you check those out. Links are at the bottom of the show notes.
So step one for me, get an Instagram.
Get an Instagram account. It is well worth it, Jake. Cool. Then I click this and we stop that. And then we move on to the next segment.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry. Matt Bowles just said the show getting kind of spicy tonight. That was with your love medicine. Awesome. Jumping into the meat and potatoes of the show, why we've got Carl and Josh on. The independent characters, wildly successful 40K podcast for many, many years, and then you threw in the towel.
Couple times.
And then you came back, and then you threw in the towel again, and then you came back.
That's right.
I can't quit you.
Seriously.
So, when did you originally launch the independent characters, Carl? When was that?
Yeah, it was about I think 11 years ago or so with my original co-host Jeff. And Jeff and I, Jeff had moved to California, where I'm located, from the East Coast, and had joined our group. We met through the old 40K radio forums.
Okay.
And I said, hey, come, he had posted, I'm moving out to California in the Bay Area, and does anybody know where I can find a game? And I said, come join our group. And so he and I hit it off, and I had floated the idea. I wanted to get into podcasting. I had floated the idea of doing like an RPG podcast with some of my friends who laughed at me when I suggested it. And Jeff arrived on the scene, and at the time we kind of didn't like where some of the podcasts out there were going with just the tone of their content. And Jeff, I was about to ask him if he wanted to do this. I was going to revisit that. And Jeff called me one day and says, hey, what do you think about doing a 40K podcast? And I was like, dude, I was going to ask you if you wanted to do one. And so we kind of put together a plan of, well, what did we want to do? And we weren't tournament players, so we didn't want to really, that wasn't our space. And then we came up with the idea of what if we make people feel like they're a part of our gaming group? Like that's the thing that we like. And so we just kind of took a while to find our voice. It takes you, 10, 20 episodes to figure out like, what is it you're really trying to do? And it just kind of picked up from there. At one point we were covering Imperial armor books from Forge World. And next thing I know, I get a message from Alan Bly at Forge World, who's the writer of, the Bad Ab series. And he'd been pointed to our coverage of the first Bad Ab War book. And next thing we know, they were saying, can we send you copies of this so you can review it and look at it? And there's no pressure to say whether you like it or not. And I was like, let me think about that a minute. And at that time, Games Workshop did not do that. Like that was not something they did. And so we really, really appreciated a look kind of behind the scenes and what was going on there. And it just progressed. Like it got progressively, it was resonating with people, our positive outlook. And Jeff was a good foil to my over positivity. He's a little more critical than I am. But the other thing I really appreciated about Jeff was he was very we would do this thing we called forbidden lore, where we would pick out a 40K book we were going to read. We'd let everybody know, hey, we're going to read it. Then we'd get the author on, interview the author, talk about the whole book, spoilers and all, after we'd given people about a month to read it. And Jeff was really astute at reading a story, looking at like, well, here was what you said in the preface, and here's what the underlying themes were. And I was kind of just like, remember when he shot that guy in the face? That was really cool. It kind of reminded me of that old like Chris Farley skit in Saturday Night Live. And but Jeff was so
remember when he cored him like an apple?
That's right, 3 times. And Jeff was just really good at like looking at what the underlying themes of stories were. So it was educational for me as well. And then Jeff kind of fell out of 40K for a while. And, I wanted to continue doing the show. So I brought on kind of a rotating hosts of guests, because I couldn't really bottle that lightning twice. And then, that was going very well. It was fun. We had regular guests from our gaming group, including Josh and Jody and others. And then eventually, like, it just became, work was intense and things were going on there. So I needed to step away from it for a bit. And so I went ahead and closed the show down. And then about a year later, I think I sat down with, I don't remember who it was, Justin or Adon, and hey, let's record an episode, just letting people know what we're up to. Like, it's a non-episode episode, and we'll just come back and
we're not addicted to it. We just
I gotta tell you,
I quit whenever I want.
To a degree, it was a relief not having a scheduled thing that you were doing, because I took it very seriously, and so we did that, and then I was like, oh man, that was really fun. Maybe we should start doing this again. And so started to show up a little bit different, and then eventually kind of found a different rhythm. And then I got promoted at work to a vice president role, where that took a ton of time, and I had to just set it aside for a bit. And I set it aside for a little bit again. And then, we came back about a year ago because in part, I was winding down at my job. I decided to leave my role because I strongly feel like time is the only resource we never get back. And I just wasn't happy how I was spending my time and what I was doing. And it had taken me away from things that I love and my friends. And we had a very good friend of Josh and I that passed away, unfortunately, unexpectedly in an accident. And it just had me reevaluate kind of everything that I was doing. And I said, this is what I love doing. It's fun. It's fun hanging out with people and getting to know people. And I've met Dave, I've met you, I've met so many people at Adepticon because of the show, at Nova, at LVO. I mean, at one point my wife was like, you're spending too much time on this. And I said, okay, well, I'll cut back. You're more important. And then she went to a show with me and she saw how people reacted and what it meant to them. And she's like, okay, you can't stop doing the show. And that kind of brings us to where we are now, where Josh was, for this iteration of the show, Josh has some skills that I don't have in videography and photography and all this, that I don't know anything about that stuff. And so as Josh wanted to get more involved in the show, I said, you know what, how about rather than I just having guessos, we formalize this partnership, and you are actually the other half of the independent characters at this point. And so we share everything, the pain and the frustration and the success and the rewards. And Josh, you want to add to that, talk a little bit about the YouTube channel and what we've kind of explored there and where we're going with it?
Yeah. So the show's obviously, we're on episode 231, 32 now of what
I think we're about to record 232.
Yeah. So there's a long legacy of the show. It's been around for over a decade at this point. So me coming in, obviously, again, I had guest hosts over the last 10 years, 20 times or so, like that.
So many more than that.
Maybe. Yeah. So well familiar with that, but then like seeing that they're fewer people are commuting, which is how a lot of people were listening to the show in the past with COVID and work from home environments changing and things like that. And then just so much of communication is visual. Like there's definitely room for that visual component that would add something and make people, Carl and Jeff originally kind of coined like make people feel like they're part of our gaming group. So with video, like I want to feel like when me and Carl on opposite couches there, like I want to feel like people watching it are sitting on that third couch, just hanging out with us, like right there, sing our reactions, sing our laughter, sing the facial expressions that we make. Like when Carl says, "I hate you for making me play Legions Imperialis," like seeing that eye roll and like things like yeah, there's and then obviously the hobby is so visual with what we're working on, what we're painting on, what the models are, what terrain, things like that, games that we played, and we're so much of this is being documented anyways. Like why wouldn't we want to bring this into the show and showcase that? And hopefully our people like what you were saying earlier, Dave, that you're sitting there painting along and just checking it out and glance up at the show every once in a while and listen to it, and you don't have to look up if you don't want to. You just keep hobbying. But loving it so far. And so the kind of main show on YouTube like that, we've got the full episodes there with all the visual components added compared to the audio version. But then we're also looking at doing more things with the YouTube video platform, specifically some live streams, hobby hangouts, more short form content too, because obviously the episodes are all 2+ hours long at this point. So more hobby focused tips, things like that. And
we did do one episode just recently that it was geared more towards the video, and we told people in advance, like, you'll be able to listen along, but there's such a visual component to this. And it was a game show that we kind of created around Warhammer 40,000, and it had like a Wheel of Fortune thing to it, and what do you call it? Like a lore,
it's trivia
part.
Yeah.
That was a lot of
Wheel
fun.
of Fortune fill in the blank.
We had so much fun recording, and our first guests for that were so good.
Yep.
We want to do more of that, but that I think we may steer to just the YouTube channel.
That would be released as a video specific episode, or not even a full show episode. That would be video specific content. Yeah. Outside of a full show, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of fun to set up and do, and people really seemed to enjoy it. So,
and there will definitely be more of those to come.
Dude,
and nobody else was really doing anything like that, right? Like I felt like we did something kind of new, and we're always looking at how else can we change what it is we're doing, and going back to the pandemic point, I think too, audio only podcasts have kind of, for me, I listened to a lot of podcasts when I would commute into work and back. And then I wasn't commuting anymore. And I found I was not listening to podcasts or even audiobooks at that point. And then I started walking every day, and I'd listen to them then. But for the most part, I think people are shifting. I feel like there's this shift in the industry to a visual medium, and YouTube in particular providing an outlet for this kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. For sure.
Yeah.
I think over the pandemic, I spent a lot of time here in this seat.
Yeah, me too.
With the computer screens here. I have a TV over there that has actually quite a few of my limited edition Primark books sort of stacked up in front of them, still in their pristine in their boxes. So I can't actually see the TV anymore, but that's because I'm watching a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
I have a lot of YouTube while I'm hobbying here. So it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, there's definitely been that shift.
Yeah, no, I think it's very cool, very exciting. One of the things, so we mentioned you're about to record episode 232.
Yeah,
that's a lot of episodes. I think that's more episodes than Friends. The show Friends, not the Friends.
And they're all about. They're all about 8 to 10 times longer than an episode of Friends.
Exactly. So, over the years that you've been doing it, over the 10+ years, have there been times when you're like, I got no idea for what we're going to do next? I don't know what the next show is going to be. Or have you always had that wellspring of like, well, here are the next 15 things that I want to do, and you get 5 it, and it's like, okay, here's another 15 things I want to do.
We had a guy join the show for a while named Zach, and he was great. Like, one of the things he was really great at was he gave me some interesting ideas based around how do we plan forward. Like, we created an outline around every show. Okay, here's what we're going to talk. Here's segment 1, here's segment 2, here's segment 3. Okay, cool. Yeah. But one thing we kind of do every now and then is sit down over lunch or whatever and just kind of hammer out, like, what are a bunch of ideas we have for episodes. Not, and I would say here's the other thing that kind of differentiates us a little bit. We try not to typically do episodes that are time sensitive, meaning you can go back and listen to some of our earliest episodes in the 50s and 40s, and a lot of that is still relevant. I mean, rules change, sure, but a lot of what we're discussing is, I remember we did an episode on what are the hidden costs of 40K, right? Things you don't really think about that add up. You know, that's still a relevant topic today. So all of those are still of value. And so a lot of times what we do is we sit down and we go, what are the non-time sensitive things we want to cover? And then if you looked at like our list of here's all the show topics, and we say, okay, 232 will be this, 233, and we shift those around. But
sure.
But we also go, okay, this one in red is dependent upon the release of 10th edition. We think it'll be around here, so maybe we'll cover it here. Oh no, wait, it's later than that, so we shift it down and move things up. But having that wellspring that we already have kind of given some thought to go to allows us to go back to it. And we're actually at a point where we probably got to refresh that a little bit. But like our next episode, we actually have Dan and Campbell from the 40K Badcast joining us. We do a series called
Campbell's a buddy of mine. He used to shop at my store.
He's the greatest guy. He's the greatest guy. And he and I met on the Something Awful forums, and I was going to England and I was like, hey, you want to go? We're all going, like a bunch of us. And he's like, yeah, okay. And I had never met him in person before. And next thing you know, we're all going to Europe together. He calls me his ham dad. So you know, we do a series called what the hell do we call that series?
Warrior Lodge.
The Warrior Lodge.
Right.
And it's a moderated discussion around several different topics over, you know, that have come up over the last few months. And Josh had said, hey, it's time for us to do a Warrior Lodge. And I said, okay, who should we get as guests? And we were bantering around. Should we get somebody from our listeners this time, which we've done in the past? Should we bring in Aaron? Should we bring in Jody? And then I think one of us said, hey, what if Campbell and Dan want to join us? We could do a collab. Right? I think that's what the kids call it these days. And so I hit up Campbell and I was like, hey, you guys want to join us first? He's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So, I mean, I think, you know, it's so fun. They're such great guys, and we've gamed together many times. And Josh went up to Campbell's house in Seattle. So
yeah, he used to live here. So like I'm in Boston. So he shopped at the Warhammer store and Dave knows Adam Pratt and I ran in Brookline, and then we opened up our own store, Alpha Omega. Campbell shopped there until he moved, which was kind of sudden. Like, it was like he was like, oh yeah, I got this new thing, and I was like, okay, cool. And now I see him usually at the Adepticon. It's kind of when I see him now, but like we still chat and stuff. But yeah, he's the best. I met Dan, his partner, I want to say a couple years ago at Adepticon. But no, he's a super good guy. Like I only know Dan a little bit, but I was like, anybody who's hanging out with Campbell and putting up with him must be cut from the same cloth. So.
Yeah, they're both very funny,
fun guys. Yeah.
Awesome.
And so you know, it's a long-winded answer to your question, which is we set up like a series of topics that we're going to have. Like we had shows scheduled out till the middle of this year at this point, like, with topics that were like, yeah, we'll cover this, and then we'll cover that, and then we'll cover this.
And if we join the Warrior Lodge, do we get a coin? Is there like a cool coin that we get, or I have to be like, I can't say.
You know, interestingly enough,
not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a coin, but we are starting to do something special for a few things. We're working on it right now because we do have some people that we call out as our elite choice as we look through we look through our communities, both on Discord and in in our Facebook group. And we see people who've done work that we find inspiring or very cool, or it could just be something they did with their family that we thought was really nice. And we'll call those out. And we have some people that have repeatedly gotten called out. And so they go into kind of like a Hall of Fame thing, and then they can't get called out anymore.
No, right.
But we're working on something right now for once we move people to that Hall of Fame, we've got something we'll send them that we think will be very cool.
Excellent. That's good. You mentioned the Warrior Lodge as a format.
Yeah.
You got Show of Force as a format.
Yeah.
You got a few other formats as well. Yeah. Each of those sort of the discussion through each of those flows differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess my question about that is which have you found sort of any of those formats to be more successful, more comfortable to do, or ones that you like better? Or
Josh, you want to
line up, or
you want to answer that, or you want me to?
Well, Show of Force have definitely been the most popular shows over any of the years, and that's where we're going. And this is not a rule specific review of 40K armies, but we're going into the lore, we're going into the model range, and some of the rules. Some of our favorites, kind of standout units. Definitely not a codex overview or deep dive, anything like that, but I think by far and large, the most popular episodes have been those Show of Force things of just give me the lore deep dive, give me the download, talk about the models, get excited, get passionate about, and
the history.
So many people, including several of ourselves, end up buying armies because of those episodes. Like just hearing like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that about X. Like I'm going to jump into that, or that model is awesome. I hadn't seen that before. And like even us as the hosts, we're not immune to that effect. But listeners definitely will like. It's a watch your wallet episode because
yes, they cause
because
more
it's
damage.
exciting. Yeah,
they cause more damage to wallets than anything else.
That stuff always cracks me up. Like I'm sure we've all done it, but I can't tell you how many times like some random model has come out for a range that I don't play, for an army that I'm not into, and I'm like, how can I get that into one of my armies? Like the big one recently, or not recently, it was a couple years ago, was in the Necromunda range, they put out the Ambot.
Oh yeah.
So like the robot Amble, and I was like, oh,
amazing.
How do I put that in one of my armies? I was like, could I use it as a dreadnought? I'm like, nah, it's like Terminator size. So when we got into Heresy and all the new Heresy stuff came out, I was like, well, I'm going to do Loyalist Iron Warriors because I love their whole background. Like, I love that they're like, they stayed loyal because like it's the rules and you follow the rules. Like, there's like so many great short stories where it's like the War Master's fleet jump in and like, you know, the Iron Warrior that's like running that gas station is like, okay, we're serving number 28. And they try to cut the line and he's like, whoa. And they're like, we work for the War Master. He's like, well, that's great. Get back in line. And they're like, well, we have to attack you. He's like, that's against the rules. I'm obviously going to have to fight you now. It has nothing to do with, are you following the War Master or not? It's just like, that's against the rules. You can't cut the line. So I have to fight you. And I was like, that's amazing. So I was going to build you can do the Iron Circle, the Domitar robots that they have.
Yep.
And I was like,
God,
I'm going to
so
use
cool.
the Ambots. And then I was like, oh, they're way too small. But like, I was like, how can I stick them in here? Like, they're such cool models. I think I own like 4 of them, and I'm like, I'm never going to use these.
I play more Necromunda. Problem solved.
I ended up using them as breaches, Cattlefront breaches in my Adeptus Mechanicus army.
Yeah, they're so nice. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I fell victim to. We did the Show of Force on Talons of the Emperor, which was the Adeptus Custodes.
Yep.
And I was like, man, I've got this really cool idea where like all my leaders of every unit I'll do their armor kind of blackened because they've been in the presence of the Golden Throne and their armor's blackened. And I got this cool, and I started buying up models, and you know, we were talking earlier, I got this point where I'm like, I'm never going to do, what did I do? I am never going to do this army. And a friend of ours, Steve, is doing Adeptus Custodes. And I was like, you know what? Take all this stuff. Just take it. I hope you have fun with it. I shouldn't have bought it.
Carl, you're just helping the economy. That's all you're doing.
They listen, and I kind of wear it as a badge of honor. I know somebody used as a criticism against me at one point, but I did go to to Warhammer World one time, and Andy Hoare was there and introduced me as the he's the West Coast marketing arm of Forge World. Because I have probably sold quite a bit of Forge World, along with buying quite a bit of Forge World stuff over the years. I have sold quite a few.
They almost got me. I'm so good about avoiding Forge World stuff. And when they like the custodes came out, and I was like, they're super cool. I'll probably at some point buy some of them. Like I want some of the jet bike dudes, and I'm going to use them as something else. But like I just think they look rad. And then they put out but I was like, I'm not going to play them. But then Forge World put out the
dreadnoughts.
No, I mean, yeah, like the big one. I love the big one. The Telemon, I think.
Oh, he's so good.
But the thing that almost got me was the it's the kit that they made. So they have bolters in those cool helmets.
The Sagittar.
Yeah, I wanted to say Sagittar, but I'm like, that's the little dune buggy thing from the.
It's many things.
But yeah. But so like when they put out the Sagittar heads, I was like, oh man, now I have to buy a unit of those friggin' things. Like whenever they put out, there's always that little chocolate chip that comes out somewhere, and I'm like, oh, I want that. Like I want to get that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jake. You see that one model, you're like, oh, maybe I should. And the worst is when the model's so good, you're like, maybe I should start this army based around this one model.
Sometimes it only takes one.
I've always said a model looks better with friends.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's true.
I have one of the stupidest things I own is I was going through our bits when I was still at GW at the bunker. We had this massive bits box because like
I'll bet.
I don't know if Dave, I'm sure you got to do this too.
Yeah.
But so have you guys ever heard the term known loss?
Oh, right.
No.
Okay.
No.
So known loss was, hey, I like as the manager of the bunker, Josh, I want you to build the new Gazco Thraka and paint him. And you're like, okay, cool. So I'm like, just known loss one. So you go over to the shelf, you take one off the shelf, you open up the known loss binder, you write the date, you write what the project is, you write what you removed, and then you adjust the inventory. So then when we do our inventory, I just go, known loss. Oh yeah, we're supposed to be, we're not missing a Gazco. We know about it. So a buddy of ours, we have this running gag called, just known loss it, which is it's missing. It's like, it's not missing. We know about it. It's not missing. So, but guys used to do this all the time in the bunker because we always had cool displays and our tables were bonkers, and you had to paint every new release that came out.
Yeah.
So, but people would do stuff like to work on their own projects. Guys would go, oh, I'm going to paint up a new Eldar Exarch, and you'd go, okay, and they'd take like a box of Guardians, and then they would take like a box of Scorpions, and they would kit bash stuff and make a cool Exarch, and then all the rest of the bits would go into the bits box, except for like that cool Scorpion Mandablaster senior mask that they wanted for their army.
Right.
So you'd end up with tons of stuff in the bits box.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I end up with an old Cypher, the old dual guns akimbo like Cypher. So I painted him up, and I was like, he looks really cool. And to Dave's point, I was like, he needs some Fallen. So I like went through the bits box and found the old like hooded Space Marine heads, and like I made a squad of like 10 Fallen for him. I'm never gonna play them. They're in my case. I was like, why do I have these? And I was like, oh, it's because Cypher needed a backup band. Like that's why I have now an army of 11 Fallen that I'm never gonna use.
Jake, I'm so close to doing that exact same thing.
But I'm already thinking about it again. A buddy of mine gave me the new Cypher because I was like, that model is incredible.
So good. Yeah.
I bought one and I converted him, and I use him as I think I use him as a sanguinary priest because I wanted the robes and stuff. And then he got me. He was like, oh, you can just have this. So I started building him, and I'm like, man, I don't have to build more Fallen. But like Dave and I were talking, I now have at least 2 halves of the Leviathan Space Marine box. And I was like, my army doesn't use Stern Guard. Like they just don't fit in my list. But I was like, oh, they have the robes. I bet I could convert these into Fallen. I'm like, I don't need an updated version of Cypher with 10 Fallen.
Sure,
it's not just me.
No, you need an updated version of Cypher with like 40 Fallen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do it, but I don't need him.
And the Lion's leading them now, so.
Yeah, I love that he came back and he was like, everything's forgiven.
Not everything, but listen, if you haven't gone too far.
He's like, don't worry about it.
If you're just a renegade, we can talk.
Yeah.
If you're full on chaos, no, we're not.
Not so much.
Yeah.
That is a great model.
If the little horns are coming out, no.
Yeah,
That lion model.
Just file those off.
When they revealed that at Adepticon,
like
the
Hellboy.
lion, that was the first time they revealed a model that I was like, oh my God, that might be the best model I've ever seen them do.
Oh, lion.
Yeah. He's so good.
All the new Dark Angels.
And that's actually the perfect example where I was like, maybe I should do Dark Angels. What are you doing, Carl? You're not
Tywin Lannister in space. Yeah, I was like, he's great.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
not even a fan of playing Space Marines. Why are you going to start a Dark Angels?
Oh, dude, I like for forever. I have not liked the Dark Angels. Well, I shouldn't say that. We talked about this before. I used to love the old Deathwing stuff and like the old what's the second
Ravenwing?
Ravenwing. Like I used to love the old Ravenwing comic by like Kev Walker and all those guys. Where it was like speed kills. They'd go flying into stuff.
Yeah.
So I always liked that. And as a Blood Angel player, the Angels of Death Codex, was great. Like all my friends, like my buddy would play all Terminators, and I'd be running my Blood Angel Assault Company, and we would just hammer and anvil people. And so I had kind of a soft spot, but their lore, I was like, they're heretics. And a friend of mine's like, what are you talking about? I was like, they're heretics. I'm like, they either are heretics and they're covering it, or they either aren't heretics and they basically, because of their actions, they are, or they are heretics pretending that they're not heretics. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, even in the books, it's like Lion goes back to Caliban. Luther and his men are like, hey, we're bummed out that you left us here. And they fight. And then all it says is during the battle, they disappear. And the winners of the battle then go to Earth. And you're like, which side won? And they're like, does it matter? And you're like, yes, it matters.
Chaos.
But yeah, when the Lion
won.
model came out, I'm with you. The Lion model came out, and I was like, should I get him? And I was like, no, I'm not gonna get him.
And I avoided it, but he's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
He has 4
that's
different heads.
So that's kind of the show. We do find we will theme episodes around
Bringing it back to Show of Force. Yeah,
this format, whether it's Show of Force, whether it's the Warrior Lodge, which we're just about to do, and I have we have pretty extensive notes on every episode, and so we have here's a Show of Force template, here's a Warrior Lodge template, here's and then we start from there. But yeah, I mean, we become so practiced at it over the years that we just kind of hammer our way through it. And I'm always looking for, Josh could tell you, I'm always looking for new ideas on what's a new series we could do. We did a whole series on kind of the different chaos gods at one point. And I really enjoyed that because I'm a big chaos guy. So that was, and I learned stuff in the research we do. So it's like, I didn't know that. It's pretty interesting.
That is something I was going to bring up earlier, is in our show list too. There's what we're planning on doing for the next 10-15 episodes, but then just that's kind of bullet pointed, but that also gives us time to go in and do a lot of the research when we need to, especially for things like lore deep dives or updates on what the universe looks like now, or rare 40k materials, give us time to reread some of these books we've had in our collections for a long time. And
like this one, Dave.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have that right over there on the shelf.
I do too, because of Dave.
Yep.
I thought he just loaned it to me, and I schlepped it all the way back to Adepticon to give back to him. And he's like, no, I gave that to you. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
That's your copy, dude. I think, there's one night we were having over a few Long Island iced teas conversation about that book. And you're like, I've never seen it. It's like,
it was great. I knew it had come out and then just in and out real fast.
Yeah.
So.
That's been a big thing lately. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this. So I felt like Black Library used to be a lot more robust in terms of their printing and them supporting stuff. And then during I want to say, I guess 7th edition, technically, they did a lot of the Knight Companion book. It just kind of snuck out onto the radar. And I was like, if you work at Black Library and Games Workshop, why wouldn't you be like, hey guys, make sure you pick up this book? It was just the new Knight Companion books. It was just don't tell anybody. And it was I know so many people who've come to my house and seen that book and been like, where did you get this? And I was like, I got it at Games Workshop. And they're like, how? And I was like, I went in and I ordered it.
I gave them money.
This was exactly what had us do a series, Rare 40k Materials, right? It's you can't buy this book anymore.
Yeah.
And it came out for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
I think the one I covered was the what was it? It's the Dan Abnett's The Crusade, the Sabbat World's Crusade.
Sabbat, yeah.
Yeah, that book is gorgeous too, right?
Got that too.
Yeah.
This
Nice.
is that's the newest one.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Look at that.
Is that leather bound?
It's the Vinculus Crusade.
I've had to kind of steer away from buying these things.
Yep, that's what that is.
I've started to steer away from buying the collector's things because a lot of them just sit on my shelf and do exactly what that one is doing.
I only get like if it's a series that I really like and it's a one-off, I don't mind doing it. Like
right.
So like the Dan Abnett ones for the Gaunt's Ghost, there's only like 2.
Yeah.
And so I'm like I own them, both of them. Or like the blue one, that's the Emperor's Spears.
Yeah, I have that one as well.
The Aaron Dembski Bowden one, and I was like, I wanted it because I was like, it came with transfers, and a friend of mine wanted those, and it came with the little paint guide thing, which was cool, and it had the little coin, and I was like, that's just cool. Like I was gonna buy the hardcover anyways, so. But
I still have the transfers in mine. I don't want to separate.
I gave the transfers to a buddy of mine. He made that whole army, so
it's a great book too.
Yeah,
and Don reached out to me at one point because he's like, "Hey, we've got a copy of the collector's edition for the new Armin book, and do you want it?" I was like, "No," and then like I looked at it, I'm like, and John and I are friends. Armin's like my favorite, character. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll take it. And here it sits up on my shelf. Just
I think I think one of the weirdest ones is there's like they have such a breadth of stuff, and like I'll bring up series to friends of mine who are in like we are like deep into the lore and like love the background and have read tons of stuff, and I'm like, oh, like an Execution Hour, and they'll go, what book? And I'm like, the 2 Gordon Rennie books, and they're like, what are they about? I'm like, it's about the crew of like a lunar battle cruiser, and they're like, really? I was like, yeah, they're literally Battlefleet Gothic books, and they're like, I've never read those, and they're like, I can't find them, and I was like, I don't know why they stopped printing them, or I don't know why they don't keep them available. Like my Black Library section, this is nothing. This is one of like the 7 bookcases I have down here, and they're like packed to the gills.
I became a Kindle convert.
Wow,
because I ran out of storage space for this kind of stuff, and I just decided, you know what, I read a lot, and when I go on trips, it's just much easier to take with me.
I try to rotate through. If it's something I know I'm not going to read again, or if it's something that a friend of mine can't find, like I'll lend my stuff out to friends of mine, and I've flipped a bunch. Like I'll get a whole series in hardcover, read them all, maybe wait a year or 2, read them again, and then I'll dump them, and then I'll buy like anthologies when they come out, so it's just like 3 books instead of like 17 or whatever. But yeah, I don't mind flipping it, but I'm too much of a bibliophile. Like I want everything in print.
Yeah,
like,
I've moved on from that, I thought I'd be the last person to do that. I was very much, Yep. I was very much
my favorite. He is the best.
I was very much I always want a hard, a physical book, and now I'm like, no, it's the Kindle is such a great reading device. It's so easy on my eyes, and it's just convenient, and I've just fallen in love with it. Unless it's a photo book, right? Like the stuff Dave puts out for like the art books and the dungeon book. Like I have physical copies of all those, and it's like those are incredible.
Super cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been enjoying books on Audible.
Me too.
Lately.
Yep.
Me too.
Yeah.
I walk every day and listen to them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listening to Blood Reaver at the moment, the second book in the Night Lord series by Aaron Dembski Bowden.
Oh yeah,
nice.
And
so good.
Listening to the first
that trilogy is so good.
Yeah.
Aaron is so creative in that regard. He's absolutely incredibly gifted writer. If I can mention a non-40K book series on Audible.
Here it is.
Here it comes. Josh knows what's coming. There is a series. There are 6 of the books out so far. The 7th is being written right now. The premise I'm going to tell you, it sounds stupid.
Okay.
It is the best Audible series I have ever listened to.
Hands down.
And it's called Dungeon Crawler Carl. I bought it purely based on the title. because I was like, well, I've got to
Sure.
see this. And I read the premise. I'm like, this sounds so stupid. And by chapter 3, I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. It is read. The guy who reads it is so talented.
Yeah.
There are 6 in the series. You will laugh harder than you've ever laughed before, but also you get really engaged to the point where I was just talking about John French a few minutes ago. I'm always hesitant to recommend reading to other authors. and I was like, John, if you don't like it an hour into the book, then don't. But I think you're going to like it. Next thing I know, I'm like, so how's it going, John? He's all, I'm on book 3 and I want to talk to you about this. and everybody I've recommended it to has very much enjoyed it. So yeah, Dungeon Crawler Carl's fantastic.
Yeah. You will binge them.
Lars
You
has
can't
read
help
it.
it. Yeah.
Does he read it? Is it just an audiobook or is it something where he does the voices and he
does all the voices?
Okay.
And his voices are so good. At one point I was like, well, who's the woman in that does this voice? And then I saw him on YouTube alternating between the voices. And I was like, holy smokes, this guy's amazing. His name's Jeff Hayes. And he's fantastic. But the series is Dungeon Crawler Carl. Give it a listen, Dave and Jake. Like if you don't like it, you can return the book, on Audible.
I'll hit you up for that credit. Yeah.
I promise you.
Your credits well spent.
Nice.
Yeah. I think the only I read so like I'm like I said, I'm a huge bibliophile. I read really fast. So for me, I can read it either quicker than most audio.
This is more of an experience you want to hear.
Okay. Yeah.
I think. I think the only
audiobooks I own where people do voices is like when GW put out the was it Blood Quest? Right. They put out Blood Quest as a like an audiobook on CD, and I bought that and it's pretty good. And then somebody told me that the last 2 Gotrek and Felix books, Brian Blessed did them, and I was like, what? Like that's awesome. Like, and he's great. Like you're like, that's what Gotrek sounds like. He sounds like Brian Blessed. Like that's
awesome.
Those books are a lot of fun. I haven't read the last, I don't know, 3 or 4, but all the original ones. I went down deep on those. Those are fun too.
Yeah, all the original John. Who's that? That's William King. I think
Bill King. Yeah.
Definitely
good. Awesome. Sorry, just gonna quickly jump in there. We got a couple of comments from the chat. When we were talking about having to get, you wanted to get Cypher and his like a squad of fallen. It's like Dave Hummel has his company masters, and they each have an honor guard.
Nice.
It's got some nice pics in the group, the Facebook group. You can check those out. Matt said he has a Necron army that he bought while still at GW that all would hover by using Tau shield drones on the undersides to get bash the infantry.
That's funny.
I'm guessing maybe that Matt hasn't put those together just yet.
Probably not.
Photos of them. And Scott says, are we complaining that books just sit on shelves? What shelves they're actually named for? What else do books do? Show me the books that do the dishes and mow the lawns, and I'm in.
Well, they're taking up all my game space. I got all my games.
Fantastic. All good. Cool. Okay. So one of the things I thought we'd do tonight, we didn't talk about it on the show last week, Jake, but have a look at the reveals from LVO.
Yeah.
I think you guys have had a chance to look at them and talk about them and that sort of thing. So
hot takes and shots fired.
Hot takes and shots fired. Yes, let's do that.
Telescoping legs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw some of them.
Saw some of them?
Yeah, like I very intentionally was like, I'm gonna wait until Dave and I go over them, and then a couple of them, like a friend of mine posted, and I was like, ooh, I like those.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of another army that I don't want to start, but I'll probably start.
Oh, is it going to be this one? That's exactly how I'm feeling about these guys.
No, but Ben, my business partner Ben, is loves the Night Lords, so he is definitely stoked about these.
Okay, hot take, Carl.
Yeah, so Night Lords are my wife's army.
Right.
So I've got to buy these.
We're getting plenty of these.
There's no way around that. She's actually very excited about these. I think they look spectacular.
I was going to
Absolutely
ask
spectacular.
if, because you're working on the Night Lord's army right now, are you going to integrate more of the kill team models in the kit when it comes out separately?
We are now.
Yeah.
We are now. They are fantastic looking.
Fantastic. I love the kind of Winter Soldier look of the head on this guy.
Yeah, that's a really good call out.
Clearly,
Clearly,
serrated lightning claw like that too. Just
so
meat hooks and lightning claws in combination. Like it's very fitting.
I love that skull mask.
Yeah. I could also imagine this guy, like if they are powered, like just not turning them on.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think those are lightning claws. Like those are just serrated arm blades.
They're just it's just Wolverine style.
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic. So
Matthew just pointed out that their bases they're standing on in blood, and I didn't realize that until he just said that.
Yeah,
very nice.
I was so taken in by the models.
Excellent. So thumbs up for these guys. Yes.
Yes.
Hell
double thumbs up. Double thumbs up.
Excellent.
It's cool to see the update to Night Lords too, because they've just had kind of the one Batwing helmet for so long, and that's about it. So
it is nice that not all Batwings for sure. How about the Mandrakes?
These have always been a favorite model of mine.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they haven't necessarily been particularly good on the table. I don't know how they stand right now, but I love these models.
Yep.
Yep.
Having these guys in a variety of poses and not in fine cast, which they have been for so long, absolute incredible sculpts, and I love these on the table.
Yep, I'm a big fan of them. I'm very curious to find out a bit more about these this sort of eldritch energy that they're throwing around.
Also standing in a bunch of blood.
Yeah.
I always thought they were cool, but I always thought they were like, I don't want to say weird, because like of course they're weird. They're like space elves, but like I was always like, these are D&D models. Like it's two drow wizards, and I'm like, why are they in my space elf armor? Like why? Like it just they look so weird on the table. They're one of the few kits that I feel like doesn't even. It looks like it doesn't belong in the range.
Oh, okay. I couldn't disagree more, Jake.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, and like I said, they're just not for me. I was like, I like the models, but I'm like, oh, I have a bunch of like sexy murder elves and like weird giant like floating robot things and like space dogs, and then like some D&D drow wizards show up to help them out. I was like, okay, I mean, it's cool. It's just like, what? I was like, it seems weird.
Well, the other thing
I totally get what you're saying there, because they're the more magical, like shadow ethereal thing, and the like Dark Elder don't even do psychics, right? So then they are kind of out of place. Like,
and they're barefoot. They just have like, they have just like towels tied around their waist, and I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, you're in space. What are you guys doing? Like,
those are skirts made of human skin, by the way. But also
it's a bath towel.
Also they have the army also has the slith, right? Which don't necessarily fit. I like when you have an army and then it has like that kind of one or two standout units, like and this is one of the things I like about kind of Deathwing, right, versus the rest of you have this rest of this army that's all dark green or black depending on when you want to place them, right? And then you have these Deathwing models that stand out. What do they call death? There's too many death guys. The Blood Angels have the
Death Company.
Death
Company. I love that unit. Like it just stands out from everything else. And I get that that's not quite the difference you're talking here. Like, but I do kind of enjoy that. Like, there's one oddball. It's like
again, like I like the models, but I feel like if you just tweaked the paint palette, you could put these in like a Alariel Age of Sigmar army. Like these could be the tree folk, the tree elves. Like that's what they remind me of. I was like, oh, these are the tree. I forget what they're called. They're like the sprites.
The revenants.
They're the spites. Like I was like, oh, these are spites. Like they are very similar. They have the scythes and like the long hair and the magic. And I was like, oh, you could literally just paint these in like autumn colors, and like they would fit into that army.
Actually, that's an interesting.
Yeah,
give me some ideas. Because
they even have like the wood carving thing in the arm, and
excellent.
Neat.
I'm trying this piece of terrain. What do you think of this piece of terrain? Okay.
That's cool. Looks like a metal birthday cake.
I'm not blown away by it.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
From a gameplay standpoint, it's very kind of flat, so it's
Guys
not
can stand on it.
as dynamic or interesting. It's easy to play with, I think, and it has like its type of personality, but it looks very mechanicum, which is
I have a lot of
weird
terrain.
personality.
My wallet's safe from this.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Like that'd
Cool.
be a cool tile for like a Space Hulk board.
It's nice, but I don't need to rush out and get that.
Yeah.
Not like the Night Lords.
That was sure. Cool.
Now
crew-
these are amazing. Like I am 100% here for the Crude.
Yep. I have a feeling Carl is as well.
I am not a huge. I like some of the Tau aesthetic. I'm not a huge fan of the Tau, but man, these Kroot are so cool. I've always thought they're really cool. I'm not. They're fantastic. If you're into this, like I think they've done you well. I do not need to go start another army. It didn't hit me like, oh, I got to go pick those guys up. Oh, hang on a second. I'm kidding. But they're beautifully done. I know people have wanted more Kroot investment for years, and man, they did you well.
Yeah.
Well, I think the coolest thing about this whole, and again, like this whole model, I was like, yes, like this whole range that they've shown so far. And the craziest thing is then they came out and they were like, we've only shown you half the range. And I was like,
oh, I didn't know they said that.
I am excited. Like we were at the store the other day trying to figure out what else they could show us. Like Dave, do you have the whole army shot on here?
No, I don't.
Okay. So
do you think there'll be a Kroot mercenaries formation coming out?
Yes. So they've shown the new Shaper, which is what we just saw. They've shown the Krutox Riders, which is what this guy is. Then they've shown the new Kroot Carnivore
Rampager. So this is
Rampager.
Yep.
So either that box will be able to do two builds. It'll do Rampagers or it'll do Krutox Riders. And then you've got the Kroot Carnivore Squad. There's the kill team that will probably just be some more characters and stuff. But then we were thinking like, what else could they add? So we were like, okay, you could do a new Great Narlock in plastic. You could do Narlock Riders. I'm kind of hoping that they do like the Shaper Council, which was basically like a bunch of veteran Kroot with like crazy weapon upgrades. Like you can give them eviscerators and like plasma guns, and like they were bonkers. And then maybe like a Vulture Kindred, so they could like fly, or you could like make them mutable. So I love this whole range. I love the whole aesthetic. They're like, oh, we'll make them like tribal. Like let's take the tribal aesthetic and then take like a heavy dose of like the Predator, and then make them these weird like alien reptile bird people, and like mash that all together. And I was like, you have Reese's Pieces like this perfectly. Like there was chocolate in my peanut butter, and I love it. Like let's do more of that.
Sean Gleason in chat is saying they need new hounds, so that could be a unit that they haven't shown.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna do new hounds. They teased one in the kill team that they released. I think there's like one or two in there, but it was like, yeah, they're obviously gonna get a new box of hounds. So
it's neat to see them just kind of rounding out the range, because Tau have always been more about all these civilizations that they brought into the fold, and really we've only ever seen Kroot and Vespid like on the tabletop, right? Yeah. And I've had some friends who played Tau heavily in previous editions, like 5th edition especially, and they would always have like their human auxiliary unit, which they would run as Fire Warriors or Kroot or something like that, but just to get more visual representation of all these different kind of races, communities, things like that coming together on the tabletop. So it is cool to just see more of that representation in model form.
I also think that one of the funniest things about I have a funny quick story about the Kroot that it always cracks me up. So there was this like diehard like meta player that was in the competitive scene for a long time, and there was a kid who was playing Kroot, and he had built his list a very specific way in case he ran into this player. So what this kid would do is he would wait until you deployed, and then he would deep strike his entire army. And I think he was playing like White Scars or something weird where like he could come in from your board edge.
Yeah.
So
this is a pretty famous story.
The Kroot player, yeah, it's phenomenal. So the Kroot player was like, okay, cool. I'm going to deploy all of my units, and then I have a hidden deployment that I can do at the end of the deployment phase before the game starts. So for that move, he basically took all of his crew carnivore squads and deployed them so they were just in unit coherency, like a guy 2 inches, a guy 2 inches, a guy 2 inches, and did his whole board edge, and then did his opponent's whole board edge, so that he was like, okay, let's start the game, and then the White Scar player like couldn't enter the battlefield and lost the game
because his units were all considered destroyed.
It was
he could never
phenomenal. I was like, good for you, man. Like, way to show that meta player like how it works. So
way to game the system for sure.
Yeah, it was amazing.
There's a famous picture of it too, where the guy who's playing the White Scars is talking to the judge, and the judge is looking at the book, and the other guy's just kneeled down by it. Like, it's a pretty great story.
Oh, awesome. Absolutely awesome.
So this one's from Age of Sigmar. This is one of the fifth Dawnbringers book. I can't remember her name, but what do you guys think?
I really like it.
Yeah.
Like I'm 100% going to buy this model so I can take the wings off it and use them on a Blood Angel. But then I'm going to turn her into a cool like priestess with a cape.
Okay, and you can put her with the mandrakes.
There you go.
I won't be doing that.
Okay.
Mandrakes and crows. It's it's interesting that the face is so hidden by just the hair coming from under the crown there.
Yeah.
I think it's a gorgeous looking model. The pose is really interesting and dynamic, perched that way, and it very is like perched, very bird like.
Yeah.
I like it, and it's interesting at the same time.
Yeah.
I like it. My wallet's safe.
Yeah.
Make sure this is definitely a model that you paint in sub assemblies.
And the reason I keep saying that, is because a lot of times at these reveals, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Like, that's amazing. This reveal at LVO, just in general, other than the Night Lord stuff, which I kind of knew, I think we knew was coming actually before they announced it there. I felt like, I don't need to buy any of this. I'm okay. I'm okay this go around.
Excellent.
Did you see everybody freaking out about her foot? Like all the weird foot dudes were like, oh, look at her foot. And I was like, guys, this is usually stuff that belongs on OnlyFans. Let's take it easy.
Wait till you listen to Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Well, moving right along. There we go.
Keeping the show spicy.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
It
This
is
is
awesome.
The Witch Hunter aesthetic vibe, especially with the Cursed City and some of the other ones that have come out, like I've always absolutely loved this ever since Wartime came out. Like,
Yeah.
we kind of really set that up, and they just every time they put a model out, I think they just knock it out of the park. And
I wish Wartime was still a
no
game.
exception.
When I look at this model, I wish Wartime was still something
Yep.
they were doing.
I feel like at some point they're going to re-release Wartime. Like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, because they got Warcry.
It's fantasy Necromunda. It's just got a little bit more crunch and depth to it. Like,
I'm in.
It'll come back around eventually.
Yeah.
But one of the things, definitely go online and check out Nemo 24. So New England Mordheim Open. Happened just this past weekend. Out in, surprisingly enough, New England. There were a lot of people at that event. More than you would expect. Maybe not like hundreds of people, but there were a lot of people.
The terrain was pretty incredible from that too, with just all the wooden bridges and 3D mod. Like, it was
the table was
gorgeous,
spectacular for sure.
Yeah. Did you make it in person, Dave?
I did not, unfortunately. But no, one of the guys actually that I play with fairly regularly, he and his brothers went up. But yeah, it was definitely super cool to check out. Loads of great pictures on Instagram. So Jake, get yourself an Instagram account so you can go and check out all the cool pictures.
Someone in
I just want to buy this
Discord
model and paint it up for D&D.
This was another one of my favorite models from that group.
So good.
This is part of a warband. It's I can't remember the name. I was determined to remember the name of the warband, but I've forgotten it. But this is one of those. There are a bunch of folks online who are very much into the like every model's a Necromunda model.
This is
one where you could paint it like that, and that if I told you this is from Necromunda, you go, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a Necromunda model. Yeah, you would in a second.
Oh, it's a Gilder, absolutely.
Yeah,
I like that, Dave. Like I like how you're like, if I told you this was from this line, you wouldn't doubt it for a moment. Like that's a real telling. That's a real telling, like litmus test, right?
Yep.
There's our next game show segment. Which of these are not Necromunda models?
Yeah,
Very cool. Yeah,
I like that. I'm gonna write that
Look
down.
at the cat skin around her neck. There's a cat paw holding it together.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's great.
Oh, it's the
yeah.
crazy cat lady of Necromunda.
I hadn't noticed that before, but no,
She's
awesome.
got her metal glove on so they don't scratch her.
That's right.
But yeah, she's fantastic. All the models in that group were awesome. I think they're going to be. That's a Warcry warband. But
I have yet to play a game of Warcry, but this Warbrand I think was the most tempting reveal from LVO for me personally. Just that
Interesting.
that aesthetic, hard to beat. Yep.
Excellent.
Very nice.
And we'll round it out, of course, with the Solar Auxilia reveals. I'm not sure. So have you guys been doing much Horus Heresy gaming at all?
No,
More with Legions Imperialis recently.
Okay, sure.
I'm actually looking to sell my Horus Heresy army at this point because it's just I'm not playing it anymore. I was playing the previous edition. I haven't really gotten into the new edition. I just my bucket can only hold so much. And yeah. This though is really cool. Without a doubt, but it makes me go, I wonder if they're going to do AdMech for Legions Imperialis, and should I have done that instead?
I think they'll definitely do them. I don't know when, but
Yeah.
Hey, why not both?
Shut up, Josh.
Sorry,
that by the way, that warband is called the Saviors of Cinderfall.
Saviors of Cinderfall. Cool.
Yeah.
And Matt Bowles has suggested that it's a new robot verification. What models are not from Necromunda?
Yeah.
You got to go at least 20 tiers deep before you answer that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people would fail that.
For sure. I love these models. I've always loved the aesthetic of the Solar Auxilia, but the idea of buying a complete Forge World resin army was a bit insane.
So good.
But yeah, they do look fantastic.
Yeah, like those are awesome.
Yeah.
I went through, so yeah, like previous edition of Horus Heresy and built a Solar Auxiliary army using Vestroians as the look, because the Vestroian look is based on armor and equipment from the Heresy era.
Yeah.
So it worked well. And one Christmas, I was gifted from my wife and her like extended family 3 of these tanks, the Dracosans, in resin, and they are chunky boys.
Yeah, I'll bet.
That's huge solid resin bricks.
I really like that guy's helmet. He looks like a jet pilot. He's got like the mask with the helmet and like the shields up. Like that's awesome.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah, they definitely great. So those is that a couple of 100-kilo missiles on the side there?
That's what it looks like.
I think so, yeah.
Is this a transport or is this a battle tank?
This is a transport. So you can have a 20-man version. So transport 20 troopers. That has a twin las cannon on the front. If you switch to the demolisher cannon on the front, it cuts the transport capacity to 10.
Got to make room for those big shells.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's great.
But yeah, it's awesome. The crazy heavy sentinel.
Yeah.
I love it. I actually love this aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too.
And I'm usually not like a big like generic like IG Sentinels. I'm like, meh, okay, but this I actually really dig for some reason. I like the top heavy look of it.
Yeah.
It has like it has a wacky
every step.
It has a wacky like diesel punk look to it too.
Yeah.
It's
a good call.
Absolutely awesome. And it can be equipped with like a melter lance kind of thing on the top. So I'm pretty excited.
Do these do the same kind of scouting that they in 28 Heresy that they do in Legions Imperialis?
I don't know. I haven't had a close look at that. Let's check it out. I mean, obviously we have the rules already. They're in Librum Imperium. But yeah, I don't think they do. It's just maybe they don't. But
It would make sense if they don't, because they're heavy. They're not scout sentinels or regular sentinels.
Yeah. So, but as a larger formation in legions,
Right. Yeah.
going move. The Lehman Russ sort of revamp.
Love the flamer on top.
Yeah. The number of times that I've actually done that sort of put that sort of gold trim on Lehman Russes with strips of plasticard. It's so nice. Finally,
that it's now there.
Decades later. Yep. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic upgrade. So I'm super excited about that. And the Malcador.
Dave, do you ever feel like you did all that work to do plasticard trim to do that, and then they come out with a model and you're like, now mine doesn't look as unique as it did?
Oh no, I've said this before. Dave is the R&D department of
no doubt.
Like, I'm convinced that somebody in the studio, they're like, hey guys, it's Thursday, what are we working on? We're all cut up in projects. Somebody's like, I was going through Dave's Facebook, and like 12 years ago he did like plasticard extensions on his Lehman Russes to like make them look really cool. And somebody's like, make that shit. Like, that's literally, I'm convinced that's why they did custodes, because Dave scratched both the custodes list.
They're like, enough time has passed.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to say we ripped them off.
Yeah, nobody will put it together. It's fine.
But Dave, to answer the question, do you feel like it comes out and then you're like, oh, like that's a great looking model, but now mine doesn't look as special as it did?
No. I think because there's so much work that's gone into it. Like I could go and get like I could go and get 10 of those Lehman Russes. It would take me some time to save up for it, but I could get 10 of those Lehman Russes and paint them all up, and then all look the same or very similar, and they're going to look like the Lehman Russes that you get or the Lehman Russes that Jake gets, whatever. Whereas the ones that I've worked on myself don't look like that.
Right.
They still have that special place for me.
Okay.
So certainly to me, they'll look different. Somebody else, they might look very similar.
Right.
But
do you point it out? Do you like, look, this is all plasticard, buddy?
No.
Yeah, you don't bother. You're beyond that. You don't need that validation.
No, you just play with your cool toy soldiers.
I'll never forget. Dave had painted a Titan, and he had brought it to Adepticon, and I was like, "How did you attach the?" He's all, "Well, I used a drill bit, and I drilled it in there, and I just left the drill bit in there, and I just put the guy on top of the drill bit, so the torso can attach to the legs."
That's the pro tip for pinning.
That's right.
If you go back, there is a great Invented Characters episode about working on doing the proper work on forge rolled resin and pieces, where it's like talking about like heating up sand beds
and hot sand beds
and that sort of thing.
Something like we had brought a guest on for that episode who had assembled my Thunderhawk, and listen, I mean, he did an amazing job assembling this Thunderhawk. It is supported with metal and it's incredible. But like he's talking about, I save the resin dust and then I mix it with this and I pour it in this, and Jeff and I were just like, what?
Amazing.
I heard from Forge World about that episode, by the
way. Fantastic.
They were like, this is ridiculous.
Too extreme.
But so it was really nice to like chat with Carl afterwards and say, oh yeah, I just went unscrewed the drill bit, dripped in some glue.
That's right.
Jobs are good. Awesome. But yeah, I'm quite excited about the Solar Auxilia, but I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do something like I think that's true. Is that the last image? That's the last image.
Oh, that's it. All right.
Yeah, I haven't decided whether I'm going to like go absolutely crazy and get like 3 of those boxes, or wait until the individual bits that I don't have yet for the army come out. So do I make a second Solar? Do I just expand what I have? Who knows? But there's going to be something done with those new models.
Right.
The short answer, Dave, you playing Solar Auxilia? Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? That'll be good. Cool. Well, excellent. Thank you. Thanks, guys, for those hot takes.
Yeah.
On there.
I felt relieved when I saw the releases, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, thank God.
I got to say that my first look through, I was exactly the same. I was like, they all look fantastic. I'm not going to buy any of them. And in the week and a half since, it's been like, maybe. Okay, just load. Oh.
Yeah, that's how they get you.
That's what it's been. That's what it's been. It's been crazy. Okay, cool. Next up is jumping into our community minis. So these are photos from the Build Paint Play community Facebook group.
Nice.
Let me hit this button here.
Our equivalent of this on our show is Elite Choice, is what we call it.
Right.
And we go through and every host can only pick one. Well, ostensibly we can only pick one. Every now and then we're like, I couldn't decide.
I do love that you've introduced the you have Shell's Kiss.
Yeah. Shell, she's like, I want to pick one. And I'm like, you got to come on the show. I don't want to be on the show. It's okay. Well, so she does. She looks through those every day. Did you see this? I go, yes, I saw that. I'm on the community.
Yep. No, it's awesome. Definitely cool. So we're gonna start off with Chris Gorka. So Chris
With
is
his pumpkin nights. They're the best.
Yeah,
That's
they
awesome.
look awesome, don't they? Chris is a regular contributor in the group. But
is that verdigris on the?
Yep.
Oh, that looks really cool.
So that's like a brass trim, but with that verdigris over the top of it.
Is that how you pronounce it? Verdigris, not verdigris.
I go with verdigris.
You're probably right. You're probably
Verdigris.
right.
Verdigris is how it's
Okay.
how it's pronounced.
Well, listen, I've only ever seen it in type.
Yeah.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah. It does look great. Just done an excellent job there. Well done, Chris. Looks awesome. Next up
Is it all of his all the little demon pumpkins on the base too? Like those are great.
Sorry, I missed those.
They all
yeah.
Check that out.
You said pumpkin night, and I just thought you were referring to the color, and now I see it. That's
It's
awesome.
orange.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes for the
Yeah.
what's that?
Totally.
Early 90s terrible cartoon.
90s. That was like.
This is the pumpkin king that
Was it,
this is the pumpkin king that Linus is like waiting for. This is the great pumpkin.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Imagine this striding through the.
That is cool. That is
That'd be
cool.
cool.
I love the basing is fantastic.
No, beautiful work, Chris. Next up, we've got Cliff. Cliff Edders has been working on his Iron Warriors for gaming at Adepticon.
His Spartan with the quad guns on the sides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the Spartan assault tank. It's so good.
Yeah.
That
He's
is-
doing, I
can't
think,
wait.
sorry, you were saying, Josh?
I can't wait for the 8mm for Legions Imperialis to drop for these. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Bunch of tiny Spartans.
Yep, tiny Spartans. I think Cliff 3D printed the quad last cannon on these.
That looks brilliant. That
Yeah,
looks brilliant.
great.
And I love the
Yeah.
hazards. Who doesn't like hazard stripes, right?
You
Yeah.
got to have it with the Iron Warriors, especially.
Yeah.
So good.
And I pulled up this this Typhon picture. You can see that Cliff's gone and carved some actual physical damage into that shield at the front there.
Yeah. That's a neat touch.
Got a lot of cool things going on there.
Such a great tank. Yeah, the Typhon's gross.
Yeah.
Typhon Heavy Siege tank. I remember we were playing the first time I ran into one. We were playing 30K at Warhammer World. Alan Bly was playing, and Ed Brown was playing, and Jason Mullins was playing with me, and Jason had played a lot more than I had, and he brought this heavy siege tank. And in that era, it's like, oh, it fires. You do not get any cover save. It just destroys whatever it shoots. I was like, it does what? And then I walked over to the Forge World store and bought one after it wiped out a unit of my guys.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things for this edition in Heresy 2.0 is that I think that it has Brutal 3. So it can do a great job of whittling down like Talons of Contempt of Dreadnoughts.
Jesus.
But yeah, come along nicely. Next up, we've got Dave Hummel. Dave Hummel's doing some conversion work on this, converting this Star Wars toy into a 40K flyer.
That is really cool. Is there a side
really
shot
neat.
or is it just the front on shot?
Oh, I only grabbed the front on shot. There's this, I think there's a side shot in the.
I'll go to the group and look at it.
Yeah,
That is cool.
I love that the Thunderhawk inspired kind of turbo laser destructor look.
That's
on
what I
the
wanted to see
spine
from,
there. Yeah,
from the side.
that's neat.
yeah, it's definitely got that going on.
There is something to be said for. There was an era where it was people were converting all kinds of toys to do things and stuff, and I think to a degree, like I'm glad that there's all these kits. Don't get me wrong, but there's a certain amount of magic there that's missing now that used to be there, and this kind of harkens back to that. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, some of my favorite White Dwarf episodes were the way back when in the 90s. Maybe you worked on these, Dave, but it's actually some of like the Star Wars like transport pods as terrain converted into kind of innards of ships and things like that. And I just absolutely love that and miss those days of, everything's a kit now or 3D printed, but there's just so much cool stuff that's very nostalgic for me, but it was so well done.
There's also the old school proxy rules. Like, remember in the back, he's got the nice Carnifex proxy there, the Dr. Pepper bottle.
Right.
You have on the table, you'd be like, it's behind the Carnifex. You're like, what Carnifex? You're like, the Pepsi bottle? It's like, is it behind that? You're like, no, it is that.
You know what? It also like
the Land Raider, right? I think that was from that. Yeah.
You know what I'd also like to call out here is the Arnold Palmer half and half drink back there. That is actually my tea drink of choice right there.
Excellent. Nice. And Dave Hummel there says it's an actual turbo laser.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
That's great.
Nice work, Dave.
This guy is rad.
Next up,
look at that.
So this is a cool 3D print from Drew Carrington. I love this pose. This pose.
That's exactly what caught my attention.
Yep.
It's so dynamic. That is so badass.
I also like the kind of combination of Vindicare and Eversor kind of mixed together there with the sniper rifle, but the skull head and then the Sentinel array. And that's
cool.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
Definitely a cool one. Nice work there, Drew. Drew also posted a photo of a game against one of his buddies. Before the show, we were talking about I think is it the Kaitan?
That's it.
The Demon Engine?
Yeah. With the legs instead of the wheels or the tracks.
But I think this one might be made out of a like statue, a Space Marine statue. But so this is a game that Drew played just recently with where both armies were fully painted, which was great. So he was very excited that
there is nothing like. And listen, I've had multiple armies commission painted.
Yep.
I have painted my own armies, but there is nothing like putting your own army on the table that you painted against the buddy who's got his own army on the table that he painted and being like, we did this. Like there's just like a feeling of satisfaction you get, I think, when you get that. And I can resonate with this photo 100% based on that.
Yeah, definitely. Now we just need to get Drew a gaming mat.
Yeah, I was going to say a battle mat.
Well, listen, my guys over at Table War sell a variety of them.
They do.
Doug and Todd are amazing guys too.
The guys at Table War are awesome.
You know what? They several years ago. So I'm gonna beat my own chest here, but I won the Warhammer Hero Award. And I won it primarily because we did all this charity work to take this stuff up to people who'd had these fires that had wiped out the town of Paradise, California, and they lost their armies. And so we did this whole thing. Table War donated to that effort a case for every one of those guys. It was like 20 people. Mats up, like this pallet arrived at my house. And these guys are a small company. They are not a big company. there was so much stuff. I was like, oh my God. And we had to store it in my living room for like a couple weeks before I went up to Paradise to drop it all off. But they were incredibly generous, and it's such a great company, and they're such great guys. Like, yeah. Look at what they offer and their mats, their mats. They were the first ones to do it, but their mats are also like the art on it is so good.
Yeah.
Their mats are the best.
And I would recommend Cobbletown and Winter Cobbletown as the two favorite mats that they did. I love those mats.
Awesome. But yeah, cool. Great to see a gaming shot, Drew. Thanks very much.
That's very cool.
Let's see more of those in the group. That'd be awesome. Next up, Jason Dyer. Painted up.
Yeah.
It's Squad of Rough Riders. These are from Victoria Miniatures.
Nice.
Kickstarter that you ran last year. And these ones are ones that Jason printed. So during that Kickstarter, you can get physical or STLs.
Wow.
But
the Hisari are so nice.
Yeah. I've seen this shot actually making the rounds in various places, just on Facebook or Instagram, things like that. And it's really, really cool, and glad it's here out of your home group.
Yep. Definitely cool. So yeah, Jason will have these at Adepticon. I think he's playing in the friendly, 40K friendly.
Nice.
Yeah, looking awesome, Doc. Next up, Jeff Smith, who's part of our Tale of Four Warlords crew, is painting up this awesome. He always started working on his Terminators.
God, that looks so sick.
This was his test model.
That glove on that Power Fist is awesome.
Yeah, his Wolf Spear paint scheme is so cool.
That is a really cool scheme.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
What a great
that
edge
kind of
highlighting too.
Celtic knot style on the shoulder there too. That's really neat.
Yeah.
So jealous.
It's a great looking mini.
The great edging he's done too. I just cannot pull that off. I keep trying.
The sorry, I'm just gonna check the timing. I think it's the 20th. So in 3 weeks' time, 20th of February, we will have our next episode of A Tale of Four Warlords, and I expect that Jeff is probably going to have his Terminator squad finished by then. So definitely check that out. But yeah, it looks great, mate. Nice work.
Yeah, they look awesome.
Some more Space Wolf related photos. This is Jonathan Palomo. Amusingly enough, I used to work with Jonathan back in Australia many years ago. Jonathan now lives in Canada, and he's going to be bringing these to the 40K championships at Adepticon. So the guy on the left is going to be his Space Wolf Lord on Thunderwolf Cavalry. On Thunderwolf. I'm not sure how you say it all, how you put all those words together.
Thunderwolf Cavalry.
Thunderwolf Cavalry, yeah. And the guy on the right, basically he's not putting Marines on the Wolves.
Yeah. Because
he's not a fan of the idea of Marines on Wolves. I know Jeff is a big fan of it.
I am.
Charles is a big fan of it. I'm... But so Jonathan's got basically the heroes and their wolf companions sort of running alongside them. But
it's great stuff.
On the appropriate place,
beautifully painted too.
Yeah, really well done. Yeah.
Yeah, his blues are that like Space Wolf blue gray. It just looks awesome.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The yellow pops so well off it too.
The blues are blue, the yellows are yellow. It looks great.
Yeah. Awesome. Excellent work, Jonathan. Thanks for sharing them. Josh Potter?
Old school Umberhulk.
Umberhulk.
Yep. Absolutely awesome. So Josh gave this away to one of his Twitch stream followers from his 2-year anniversary of streaming on Twitch. Looking super cool. He was messing around with sort of a more of a I guess a volumetric lighting with this. So the light is coming from the sort of front right of the photo. So you can see that the brighter light appearing on that left shoulder there. But yeah, I suggested in the group that this guy's kind of like, hey, you can serve me one more drink.
Yeah, his eyes look a little lidded.
Not too bad. Yeah. It's that pose as well. It's like, oh, come on.
It's good lumber.
Yep. But no, awesome model.
It's the eyes. He has kind, sleepy eyes.
He does have sleepy eyes.
Instead of like beady, murderous eyes.
Yeah, he just wants to give you a hug.
Yeah. Just come a little bit closer. Awesome. Great work, Josh. Nathan Sorensen posted this piece, which looks awesome. I think it's a 3D printed piece.
It's great.
Is it the moisture evaporators in the background?
Yeah.
Dave, I saw this and I thought it'd be really cool Votan terrain.
Yeah. I think
it's the same as all their cockpits.
Yep. Exactly.
Has that feel to it for sure. But no, it looks great. I love that. Cutting out all that acrylic to stick in there and with the
so good
with the plants inside.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Awesome.
Little polyshore biodome inside.
That would be kind of crazy.
Love the weathering on that too. Very fitting for the scene there.
Yep.
Dave, that's what you have to do. You have to get a Stephen Baldwin and a Pauly Shore miniature and put them inside and just have them like stuck inside.
Oh, God.
That would be great. No, it looks awesome, Nathan. Thanks for sharing. Ross painted up some spiders here. So these are from 6th edition? No.
Yeah, they're just the Spider Riders.
7th edition, I think. One of the Spider Riders in the core set.
How do you feel about Spider Riders, Dave?
How do I feel about Spider Riders? I'm okay with Spider Riders,
but not Wolf Riders.
That's
where you draw the line. Wolf Riders.
I would probably not I wouldn't put a Space Marine on top of the spider.
No. He wears a Space Marine wears 2 of these like skates.
Yeah.
Sure.
Goblins ride wolves too. There were the Wolf Rider goblins and the Spider Rider goblins.
Goblins, I don't have a problem with goblins riding most things.
Squigs, wolves, spiders, other goblins.
It'd be fine. All of it. Let's do all of it.
Yeah.
But Space Marines,
rockets.
Not so much. Yeah, rockets.
Absolutely.
But moving right along. These look great, Russ. Nice work.
Yeah.
And Ross has also been building some terrain.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That is cool. So meticulous. It takes so much time to do that. Those
the skull under that, and with the kind of got the the steampunk vents coming out of the top there a little bit. That's really cool.
Yeah, It does look great. Oh, Matt Ball said flying cave squigs. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Matches with his army.
Yeah, Matt is converting his entire orc army so they're riding flying squigs.
Oh wow.
Like 40k orc army. So
fantastic.
Yeah, they look great. But Ross, this looks awesome. Yeah,
that tower just looks inherently dangerous. Like you could just pull out one stone and the whole thing would just kill you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's held together with magic.
Yeah, you understand. Like, look at these from a distance and keep moving along. But no, they look great. Very cool job. Nice work, Ross.
Is that top on that one on the right removable?
Wow.
I think it is.
It looks like it is.
Yeah. It looks like it is.
That'd be my guess. But also, so I think this is our last slide here. Is Stephen?
That's awesome.
Has painted up. Yeah, he painted up this model. This is from the new gang that is going to be at Slow Death Games at Adepticon for Wild in the Streets. Is the
I love the hair.
The game, but
also fits in Necromunda. Could definitely be an Escher.
Yeah,
definitely.
or Infinity. This could fit in Infinity.
I thought it was an Infinity model initially.
No.
That is awesome. The hair is
painting up a bunch of other models for that booth as well. So definitely go and check them out.
Nice.
And yeah, looking cool there. Yep, and that is the end of that.
Dave, before we wrap up, can I just ask you a quick question? You went to Hank's to do some painting on terrain for Adepticon. I went out there 2 years ago to do it. I couldn't make it this year. How did it go? Was it a good time?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great time. We painted loads of stuff for Shatterpoint and Legion. who's had to expand the number of tables from 64 to 128 for Legion.
And
Wow.
nobody does terrain like Adepticon. I mean, that's not even just an idle boast. It's like the amount of time over the years I've seen it just improve, and it was fun having gone out there that year and then coming to Adepticon with my wife and pointing out to her, I painted that piece. I painted that piece. Yeah, I painted that piece. It's incredible. The amount and the setup Hank has is insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Definitely. And I'll also give a shout out to the folks who do all of the assembly.
Because
Spray Team has a super cool name, the spray like Adepticon Spray Team, and we have like a little logo and stuff like that. But the team of folks who there's going to be like 20 or 30 people who devote a whole bunch of weekends during the year to assembling all the terrain and priming all the terrain and all that sort of thing.
They don't have a cool name?
They don't have a cool name. No.
Got to come up with
assembly
a cool name.
team.
I saw the pictures in the little chat group coming up, and I was so jealous that I wasn't there. And while I am going to be in Australia during Adepticon and not there this year, I'm already having that missing out feeling. I'm sure it'll be fine when I'm in Australia.
You'll have a great time in Australia.
I'm going to have a great time, but I wish it had not fallen when Adepticon was. That's when the Formula One races and down
just
there,
just be careful on Catachan while you're there, and let us know how it goes.
let me tell you, that's a joke, but my buddy who listens to
it's not a joke. Australia is a death world.
He got stung. He got stung by a bee. He lives in Perth. We're going to go see him in Perth. We're going to both coasts. He got stung by a bee directly into a vein, and I don't know if you know, but that can like kill you.
Right.
And he had to like go to the emergency room. His wife is fortunately
not allergic to bees. Still almost dead.
Yeah,
because Australia.
Because it happened.
Because they're Australian bees, and they
that's
know
what
where
I
to
said.
sting you. Like,
they say, "I'm going to sting you, mate."
They know how
I'm
to
not
get the
alive because I've never been stung by a bee. Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Wow.
I'm so lucky.
That's not a stinger. No, that's a stinger.
It's just a stinger. That for sure.
Matthew Bowles, Architects Assemble. Architects is a good. There should be some kind of play there. That's a good.
Yeah. Immediately, Avengers Assemble came to mind, but I like Architects Assemble.
Yeah, that's nice, pretty sweet.
Yeah, we'll have to see what we can do for them for sure. Give them make a little logo, but that would be super cool.
A lot of work, man.
But excellent. So we have reached the end of the show. We've actually gone to run over a little bit of time, but we expected that would happen, didn't we?
Jake and I made sure of it.
Yeah, sorry.
You guys can talk. Yeah.
If Jake and I had a podcast.
Yeah, it's 4 hours long.
In this 4-hour podcast.
It's billed as a 45-minute check-in, but it's 4 hours.
That's right.
Yeah.
Quick touch base.
Yeah. That'd be fantastic. You should definitely do it.
No.
But no, awesome. First off, I want to say thank you very much to our season sponsor, the Army Painter.
So good.
They currently have all of their the Warpaint Fanatics. Well, I say all of the two Warpaint Fanatics sets that are on pre-order. There's a link in.
No, it's all up now. It's so
Oh,
it's the complete set, the mega set, the most wanted set, the starter set, and then all of the individual colors are now up for pre-order.
Okay.
But obviously the complete set and the mega set are coming out first. Like they will they will hit stores first.
Josh has been playing with those.
Yeah,
They're
I'm absolutely loving working with those so
They're
far. I love
phenomenal.
the working time they have just built in with that. They're so heavily
good.
pigmented, but also they just stay moist.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've been using their speed paints as filters through my airbrush quite a bit. I'm really loving it.
The speed paint metallics. If you haven't messed with them,
so good. I did. I used the gold the other day.
Yeah.
And the bronze.
I was really impressed with how well they cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me
definitely,
too.
Definitely super cool. But yeah, thank you very much for that. Also down in the notes below, we have a link to the store to go and buy some Build Paint Play merch. I'm gonna get the cool T-shirts.
And anybody who does, I'll throw in some stickers.
Sweet.
That sounds familiar, Josh.
And thank you very much to Carl and Josh from the Independent Characters for joining us tonight to chat about all sorts of cool, crazy stuff.
Thanks for having us, man.
More about the show and
really appreciate it.
No, definitely cool getting to chat with you as well, seeing as how we won't be able to sit around and
I know. I was serious. If you're coming out here, we got 2 guest rooms.
Cool, excellent. I won't take up both of them. Just
we'll be on the West Coast in July for San Diego Comic-Con because we got we're doing painting lessons at San Diego Comic-Con.
That's like 7 hours south of me.
Hey, it's closer.
It's closer. Yeah,
it is.
Oh, it's an hour flight.
Yeah,
that's true.
There you go.
Well, again, thank you so much for having us. We had a great
This
time.
has been great. Yeah,
definitely.
Super
cool. I really appreciate it. So I think that is it for the evening. Thank you, everybody who has been watching. We will be able to let you know on Friday. I think by then we'll have worked out exactly what we're doing next week's show. We are not planned out to the middle of the year. We're a little bit more ad hoc than that, but we should get a little bit better. We have a couple of options, but we'll see what we end up with. But we'll let everybody know on Facebook and on Instagram. But we'll be back again next week with another awesome show. Thank you very much, everybody.
So
long. And now, just while I'm getting things ready, Jake can do his little bit.
Well, Dave did a great job. Like, I don't really have a lot of cleanup to do. So normally I thank the guests. So again, Carl, Josh, thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure having you guys. It was great to chat with you and kind of pick your brains about stuff. And I'll definitely be checking out the show, and hopefully everybody else who watched this will as well. Dave has the link down below, so you guys can definitely do that. But yeah, we'll post and let you guys know what's going on next week. But in the meantime, as always, don't forget to post your photos, spread the love, and we will see you guys next week. And as always, do not forget to build, paint, play.
Shut up and sit down.